WWE WrestleMania 19 is the second and last WrestleMania game for the Gamecube. This game was released in September 8th of 2003 in North America, and it was the successor to WrestleMania 18. Now WrestleMania 18 was met with very average at best reception. So does WrestleMania 19 improve on WrestleMania 18 at all? Well, that's all we're here to look at. Let's take a look. Well, the menu looks really quite good. It is a pretty well done representation of the actual WrestleMania 19 pay-per-view. Definitely an improvement over WrestleMania 18 appearance-wise. But if I have anything bad to say about the menu is that scrolling through the options can be a little bit slow. Hell, sometimes I'm pushing across at least twice before it actually scrolls to the next option. This is really a minor nitpick though. It's no big deal at all. You got a mode called Superstar Profiles. Yeah, it's exactly what it says it is. You see the certain profile of superstars. It doesn't go in depth about the wrestler, it simply highlights key points about the superstar. No, nothing exciting here. What is new in WrestleMania 19 is a tutorial mode. This mode is actually pretty well done. You got Al Snow who has fully voiced over this tutorial and acts kinda like a real wrestling teacher would.
Let's take a look at some basic movements. If you can't handle this, then we're in big trouble.
See, it's not just him reading over some text. He's actually making smart-ass remarks. And the lessons are very specific as well. There's a lot to choose from when trying out the tutorial mode. Overall, this tutorial mode is really pretty good. Exhibition mode. You have all the same matches that are on WrestleMania 18. Well, you're missing the Battle Royal, so technically 19 has less matches than 18. You have less arenas in 19 than you did in 18 as well, and 18 didn't really have that many arenas to choose from in the first place. This game has a good roster, in which there are about 45 wrestlers to choose from. It even has Christopher Nowinski. I don't think there are any wrestlers to unlock though. The entrances look pretty good since the graphics in this game are quite decent. It does in fact look better than WrestleMania 18, but it only looks minimally better in terms of graphics. The wrestlers still walk in an awkwardly stiff fashion, and the character models look a bit different. Again, they look a little hit and miss. Not to mention that wrestlers look more blocky than they should, but this design seems to be intentional. Personally, the design does not bother me at all. The gameplay is very playable. It's nice and easy to play. It uses a typical control scheme and gameplay mechanics, so basically anyone that has played a SmackDown game can pretty much pick up the controller and play this game without much of a learning curve to go through. The meters at the top are still the same as WrestleMania 18's. The only real difference is that they look cooler. And not to mention the music is so much better than it was before, because it uses mainly the same music that you hear in Here Comes the Pain. The collision detection bugs have been greatly fixed up in this game. Your wrestler doesn't go through another wrestler as often as they used to whenever you do a move, which is good to see. Yeah, basically the same gameplay but with minor improvements. Improvements such as blood, and Here Comes the Pain, you have to work a little bit to bust your opponent open. In this game, making people bleed can be surprisingly easy. Submission moves always end with your opponent countering them, which is a little annoying, as it gives them a slight advantage. I wish you could just choose to let go by yourself more often like they do in actual wrestling, but that is just a minor nitpick. But I do like when you've built up your meter, which stores the finishing meter for you. You can activate it, and your name starts glowing, with intense music playing, and this lasts for a short time. And in that short time you can potentially do your finisher multiple times. What I like about this is when you start seeing multiple wrestlers doing this, you know that shit is about to go down. And it can be a real spectacle. So overall, the gameplay is good. Let's see what other modes there are. You have King of the Ring mode, which there isn't really a whole lot to say about it since it pretty much speaks for itself. You choose a wrestler, and you're put in a tournament. You fight your way through the tournament until you reach your final opponent, who's actually waiting for you the whole time. This isn't exactly how a typical King of the Ring worked, because your final opponent would have had as many matches as you have. But no. Because you don't fight for a crown, you fight for the championship title, so you end up with an opponent that is waiting for you. Again, this is not exactly how King of the Ring worked at the time, but it does indeed work. Now this game has a mode called Revenge. This is a substitute for a season mode, which is an interesting choice in name, but what is the actual mode like? Well, it starts off with you being thrown out of the arena by two security guards who are acting under Vince's orders, only to have none other than Stephanie McMahon basically waiting for you. I don't really know. Either she was waiting for you, or you were knocked out by the fall, and she came along just before you woke up. It's not totally clear. Either way, she wants to make a deal with you.
The very man who ruined your career. I devised a plan to hit him where he will feel it the most. WrestleMania 19. And if WrestleMania doesn't take place, then Vince will be ruined forever. Are we on the same page?
As you can hear, Steph is actually voiced over by the real Stephanie McMahon. I think. I'm not really sure, since the quality, as you can hear, is absolutely horrible. Not to mention the atrocious acting as well. Still, this was before even SmackDown used proper voiceovers, and surely you all remember how bad that was the first time they did it. Plus, these Gamecube discs are really quite small. They don't hold as much information as a regular PS2 disc. In fact, it holds less than half the amount of space than that of a regular PS2 disc. But damn, I'm way off topic. Okay, Stephanie wants you to sabotage Vince McMahon by ruining WrestleMania 19. She wants you to do this by taking out the people who helped construct the event. It's an interesting idea, but she never really explains her motives. You know what, the manual actually has a description of the revenge mode. I'm hoping this can shed more light on the revenge mode. Let's take a look. Revenge. Revenge is WrestleMania 19 story mode in which you can control a superstar who has just been stripped of the WWE title and thrown out by Mr. McMahon. Oh, so you're the champion and you're stripped of the WWE title. The game actually fails to mention this, believe it or not. To me, that's kind of important information. It gives you more of an incentive to side with Stephanie McMahon. It's actually making more sense. I don't know why this isn't in the game. I wonder what else the manual can tell me. Your only chance to get revenge and return to WWE lies in the hands of another McMahon. Stephanie McMahon has come up with a plan to take over the so Stephanie actually wants to take over the WWE. Where have I seen that before? Anyway, this makes a lot more sense as to why she's doing what she's doing. Her motive. Again, the game doesn't actually explain this. Now you could argue perhaps this is pretty obvious that she wants to take over the company, which could be true, but you know what? It doesn't hurt to actually say it. Anyway, she gives you a contract and a list of objectives to do. You get to choose from a number of locations. You can begin at any of them and choose them in any order you want. It's up to you. Each location has a number of missions to do. They start off really easy, such as throw these construction workers off the site within the time limit. You know what? I found this pretty interesting. Just the idea that you go around beating the hell out of random people. Not only that, but you are actually killing them by throwing them off the site. I find the idea to be actually pretty cool. You can take on multiple people at once, and they do fight back, which is a little weird because they can all kinda wrestle. And they all seem to like punching as if they were The Rock. Hell, this is the closest thing these average Joes will ever be to becoming an actual wrestler, so they might as well make the most of it. Sometimes a wrestler will enter the brawl just to mix things up a bit. It does feel satisfying beating up these guys, but after a while it becomes pretty redundant and uninteresting when you just beat up the same guys over and over again. The game tries to remedy this by making you do other stuff, like trying to get past wrestlers, smashing people on top of cars, making them bleed, trying to get from point A to point B, and even stopping people from getting to certain places. Yeah, trying to stop people is a bitch to do, since it is the last mission on the construction site, and the difficulty gets really hard, really quick. It seems so simple, but yet, the sheer difficulty makes you want to break the closest thing next to you out of sheer frustration. It's crazy. There is nothing wrong with high difficulty. In fact, you feel a big sense of achievement when you finally beat something that was really hard to do. But man, this is really something. You see, you have to stop anyone from climbing up to the wrecking ball controls. And holy hell, is it easier said than done. They have to climb up the mesh to get to the top. You can shake them down, which is fine. But the problem is that you're being double teamed. and one guy will go up, and the other one will try to attack you. So you have to beat one guy up and then run over to the mesh and shake the other guy down. But usually when you beat up the first guy, he'll end up lying in front of the mesh, and you can't shake the other guy down. You can drag the first guy out of the way, but if you do drag him, then it's usually too late anyway. Not only that, but when one guy climbs, the other one will do a move on you, and sometimes that move takes longer to do than it does for the other person to climb up the mesh. Not only that, but switching targets can be a pain. You push Z to switch targets, and maybe since my controller is a third-party controller, it's not as easy to do, but personally I find it difficult to switch targets. You can do it, but most of the time it's way too late, and you get beat up by the person you're wanting to target, which is pretty frustrating, especially when it's like 3-on-1. Usually, you gotta cycle through 2 targets, and being 3-on-1, you're almost always gonna get beat up because of it. Yeah, the difficulty becomes a complete bitch. But it is satisfying when you actually win. Revenge mode, from what I've seen, seems to either be all or nothing when it comes to the fans. People either love it or they hate it, and I do understand both sides. For me personally, I think it was worth it to see at least once. No, it's not my favorite by any means, but goddamn, the creators clearly wanted to do something unique for a wrestling game, and they did. Not only that, but they totally took advantage of the fact that this is a video game. This is pretty much the only place we can see this kind of thing happen. Not only that, but it reminded me of Fighting Force. It's a game I used to play a lot when I was young. You get points for beating up people, and the more people you beat up, the more points you get, and the more points you get, the more money you get, which means more stuff you can buy at WWE's SHOPZONE. There are a lot of things to buy at the SHOPZONE: moves, weapons, clothing, etc. Mainly all for your creative wrestler, basically just the generic things you would expect to buy. This is voiced over by Stacy Keibler, which is not something I'm complaining about. Well, she is okay, but man, she is repetitive. She says the same thing over and over again. It becomes kind of annoying, especially when you're on a shopping spree. Creative wrestler. Again, it looks like you might be able to customize the actual wrestlers, and well, you can, just not their appearance. You can change their moveset and make them a face or a heel. For instance, if you change Kurt Angle to face, the crowd will stop chanting, "You suck," so it does make a noticeable difference. But still, the creative wrestler is a big upgrade from Wrestlemania 18. You can see the actual animations of the moves this time. There are more things to choose from for their appearance, assuming that you bought all the stuff in the SHOPZONE, and it has a very decent entrance feature too. The customization on the camera angles is pretty sweet. That about covers it. Overall, this game is definitely an improvement over WrestleMania 18 in terms of gameplay, features, roster, modes, creative wrestler, and especially in terms of presentation. It's a huge improvement. Some improvements, like the creative wrestler, are vast improvements, while some improvements like the gameplay and the graphics are pretty minor. I do like and kinda dislike the revenge mode. It's cool to see that they actually had the balls to try something that they had to have known not everyone would like. Overall, would I recommend this game? Yeah, sure, why not? Just don't go too out of your way to get it. Only play it if you're really that curious about the revenge mode. And even then, I can't guarantee you'll actually like it. So yeah, that's been another review for me. Now to move on to the Day of Reckoning games. That won't be too long either. I've been holding up my word so far. Thanks for watching. Bye. You know what? The manual... Shit. Drop the manual. I wonder what else the manual can... You know what? I'm hoping this can actually shed more light on this... You know what? The manual actually has a description of the revenge mode. I'm hoping this can actually shed more light. I'm saying actually too many times, actually. You know what? The menu. The menu. I wonder what other stuff this manual can tell me. Fuck! I wonder what other things. I wonder what else the manual can tell. Now, you could argue that perhaps... Fuck. Now, you could argue that perhaps... Why do I keep saying perhaps wrong? Perhaps. Now you could argue perhaps this is her motive. WWE Does WrestleMania 19 improve on WrestleMania 18 at all? Does WWE WrestleMania 19 is the WWE WrestleMania 19 is the fuck. Chip 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 chip. Got budgies.